Tucker Carlson and Alex Jones. A psyop? Or just something really stupid? We'll take a look today. Usha Vance is an expert in trolling, and she trolled the New York Times journo like no other. I love this lady. And finally, the power of a dog's nose. Oh, yeah. Welcome to the Jay Sheldon Show. That would be me. Nice to have you along for the ride. Thanks for popping in. We appreciate it. And we are live on YouTube and on Rumble. We do this little thing here at 9 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday on both sites. So if you're on YouTube watching us, please hit the subscribe button. It's free, costs you nothing. And of course, on Rumble, it's that follow button. So hit that button there. That also, again, it's free. We've got some great sponsors. We've got a way you can donate directly to the show and help keep the lights on around here. We appreciate those of you who do that. Thank you so much. You keep us in business, and we dedicate this to you. All right. You ready? Let's go. Tucker Carlson sat down yesterday for an interview with Alex Jones, where he said things that were either incredibly sly or incredibly stupid, honestly. Before getting into some of the details, we're going to put into perspective, see just what Carlson has become, because he's changed a lot over the last few years since he was fired by Fox News, started his own network. He has spent almost 3 years now pushing an agenda of a bit of anti-Semitism, justifying Iran and Qatar, claiming that Qatar is safer for Christians than Israel. And by the way, churches are not even allowed in Qatar. Attacking Trump, MAGA movement, America itself. Carlson has given platforms on his shows to people who are conspiracy theory nuts, promoters of some of the worst hate in America, and those on the very outside fringe of society, like white supremacist Nick Fuentes, Holocaust denier Daryl Cooper, Ian Carroll, believes that Jews are responsible for every evil in the world since 9/11. Now, I don't disagree on some of those facts, but sometimes he takes it a bit too far. Carlson also has been repeatedly and increasingly demonstrating some signs of what could very well be described as clinical mental illness. He's been disavowed, disowned by President Trump, called Tucker a tool and a low IQ person. And during all of this progression into craziness, Carlson's remained very close to J.D. Vance, who has, until recently, employed Carlson's son in Vance's office. Most recently, Tucker went on a very small podcast to say that he is done with the Republican Party. He is finished, and he will never vote Republican again. Well, as he sank into the realm of being a bad propaganda outlet, it's also become kind of clear that Tucker's attitudes have changed subsequent to his interviews and visits to Iran and Qatar, where he has now bought a home, by the way. Laura Loomer wrote about Tucker being paid by Qatar, calls him Tucker Qatarlson. And social media has picked up on that. Mark Levin, whom I mostly disagree with, but calls him a desperate man who leaks and makes up stories. The Carlson Network, initially funded by an American Muslim, Tucker's become kind of a caricature of himself. He's lost a lot of credibility in the eyes of just about everybody but the most extreme. And his desperation to try and reclaim some kind of relevance is apparently why he is now going on these small little podcasts and shows like conspiracy theorist Alex Jones. I happen to be a fan of Alex Jones. I like what he does a lot. But on these kind of platforms, he can express I don't know whether to call it his stupidity or more likely just trying to further his personal agenda of supporting his financiers. He spends a lot of time lately attacking Jews, working against President Trump, working against America. He has this, I mean, there are days when I listen to his show and I think, yes, agreed. And there are other days when I think, you are a wackadoodle. Anyway, he was just on Alex Jones' show making claims in order to push forward his agenda. He claimed that Gavin Newsom can win the White House. And that Trump is afraid of Newsom doing exactly that. Continued his attacks on Israel, expressing the blood libel that the only democracy in the Middle East is about to launch nuclear weapons. We'll see. He even went deeper down the Psy-Op rabbit hole with a repeated negative comment about the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. February polls for the 2028 presidential race, by the way, Rubio has surged in the last few months, and he's now wound up tied with J.D. Vance in every major poll in a hypothetical contest between Vance and Rubio for the Republican nod. A lot of analysts, a lot of pundits saying that Rubio is the candidate most likely to beat any Democrat they want to put up. And a Rubio candidacy or presidency, well, that would be very bad for Qatar, Iran, and Tucker Carlson. This desperate Tucker going on any show he can with the intention of achieving a few things negatively affecting Trump and the Republican Party for the midterms. He's attacking Rubio. And most importantly for him, he's seeking more relevance in a world that has become progressively rejective of him. We've pretty much had it, and it happens more and more every single day. The full process is incredibly calculating on Tucker's half. Do not underestimate this guy. It serves him personally, it serves him professionally, and it serves him financially too. He is basically playing a shell game. And like any con man, he wants nothing more than his audience to get misdirected. He seeks out the wizard behind the curtain, not realizing that the majority of Americans recognize he is a sham and a grifter. And the more you study him, the more you realize I'm right. It's amazing how much this man has changed. And not for the better. Marilyn, good morning. Be blessed. Great to have you along. Hello there. All right. What else we got cooking? Trump's admin is cracking down on asylum fraud, and they just claimed their first big target. They are coming for immigration lawyers. DHS announced yesterday they're seeking more than $255,000 in penalties against immigration attorney Vinod Vadamani, whom federal authorities are accusing of filing fraudulent asylum claims on behalf of Indian nationals. DHS General Counsel James Percival made that announcement in a post on X. He writes, "Last month we put the open borders industrial complex on notice. Fraudulent asylum claims would result in fines against attorneys, and today we fined an attorney over $255,000 for filing multiple fraudulent claims on behalf of Indian nationals." According to DHS, Homeland Security filed 5 notices of intent to fine after reviewing 32 immigration cases linked to Dramani. Agency says these cases involved 64 fraudulent documents and asylum applications that were either perfectly identical or nearly identical in both the language and the substance of the claims. 64. Insane. Now, these allegations hold up if they do. The obvious question: exactly how many supposed individual asylum claims were actually being generated from the same template? This is like an auto pen thing. Asylum seekers are supposed to reflect unique, fact specific accounts of them suffering some kind of persecution in their home country. 32 cases with 64 fraudulent documents and a basic copy and paste. That is not oversight, folks. That's a production line. The exposure adds up really fast. First offenses, up to $4,730 per fraudulent document. Repeated violations can hit $11,800 per document. And if you run that math across 64 alleged fraudulent filings, that number climbs past $255,000 US. They're already looking for that. Beyond the fine, a fraud finding could also cost Dramani his ability to practice before the immigration courts. They'll rip his license right away. In serious cases, there may even be criminal charges on the table. Good. Lock him up. These are not, by the way, at the moment, criminal charges. They open this administrative process, and under the statute, which is cited in Percival's memo, the government can target anybody accused of knowingly preparing or filing false immigration documents. That the recipient, you can contest the allegations before an administrative law judge, but DHS has made it very clear that these Dramani actions are meant as a warning to a much broader immigration bar. Look, folks, this is one guy. One guy. You got to know it's happening times how many? Unlimited, likely. There was an order from Percival back in May, ordered ICE attorneys to make greater use of the existing document fraud authorities. He said, for many years, millions of illegal aliens have committed fraud in our immigration system. No place is this more rampant than in the immigration court. This May guidance specifically instructs ICE attorneys to pursue enforcement actions against lawyers who are accused of filing false asylum claims. His memo was pretty blunt about why this hasn't happened before. He says, historically, ICE has depended on the discipline of immigration judges and the enforcement of criminal fraud laws to defer this conduct. But ICE has its own tools, and it is time to start using them. That directive itself follows President Trump's March 2025 memorandum, which orders federal agencies to pursue sanctions and disciplinary actions against attorneys involved in fraudulent or frivolous litigation against the federal government. And that memo called out the immigration bar very specifically, accused lawyers of coaching clients on how to conceal their past or lie about their circumstances when they assert their asylum claims. For years now, immigration enforcement has focused almost entirely on the applicants, the folks at the other end of the paperwork. But this focuses the attention, perhaps even more importantly, where it should be. The people who are preparing that paperwork. And when that happens, you know things are going to move fast. Oh, yeah. Democrats are not going to like this news, and here we go again. It's that bloody damned reflecting pool. Could we please just leave the reflecting pool alone? I know, lefties, Democrats, it's your symbol of the Trump thing. But seriously, it's beautiful. It's been repaired. It's there for every American to enjoy. You just can't have nice things, can you? Democrats been losing their minds, as we've told you again and again, over the Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool. The only reason they care is they thought they could attack Trump over the algae bloom in the pool. After he said how beautiful it looked right after it was done, and it did. They were even freaking out over 3 dead ducks found in the area. Now, we don't know why the ducks died. Folks on the left, of course, immediately tried to blame the use of hydrogen peroxide to treat the algae in the pool. That didn't fly, to coin a phrase. Brad Bortner, former National Division Chief of Migratory Bird Management at FWS, said, I know a few more dead ducks have been found, but hydrogen peroxide remains an extremely unlikely cause. They would have had to have poured hundreds of thousands of gallons of that industrial strength hydrogen peroxide into the pool to reach any kind of a concentration that would actually kill a bird. But, and no surprise here, the Democrats didn't give a damn when Barack Obama spent $34 million on it, had algae within a month, and did not resolve the leaking problem. Trump had to fix it because it was leaking 45,000 gallons a day. And now that's fixed. And why do you have a problem with that? Oh, and the ducks? Here's what happened under the Obama administration. 80 dead ducks from a parasite. CNN reported 80 ducks dying in one weekend and recurring algae problems during the Obama administration. Now, one duck dies or algae appears, and suddenly it's a national emergency. Unbelievable. Look at this report. This is from CNN.
The water with chlorine to try and kill any of the parasites and the bacteria.
Count them, 80 dead quackers. Bottom line, algae is a natural process. I have a small pond in the back of my house here with koi in it, and I got a horrible algae problem. It can occur in any pool. It is something that you just learn to live with and learn to deal with. But guess what? After all that, the Democrats are going to have a fit because it looks like the pool is looking awesome again. Sorry, Democrats. The reflecting pool looks amazing once again, and credit where credit is due, something you will never, ever hear from the Democrats. The poor pro-algae leftists, very, very unhappy about that. The algae they're talking to, encouraging it to bloom, apparently that algae just wasn't listening so well. Cotton from TMZ said He did see a line in the pool he couldn't identify, although he speculated on whether or not it was a cut or sediment. And the ducks there were looking pretty happy. So, what's the left going to come up with next? Trust me, there will be something, I promise you. They will find something to get in the way of our happy 250th. Because that's what they do. That is exactly what they do. Oh, man, oh, man. That is Blackout Coffee. And Blackout Coffee is the sponsor, one of them, of this show. They are an amazing American company. John Santos and the gang over there have done an incredible job. Blackout Coffee works with local co-ops and American farmers to grow the best beans, right altitude, right temperature, right soil. They only pick the top premium beans, and then they only roast them after you order, and they get delivered straight to your door within 24 to 48 hours. Flavored coffees, instant, cold brew. They've got all the coffee pods, of course. And if you can't grind your own beans, it's okay, because in most of their popular roasts, you can pull down the little tab that says whole beans, pull that down, it says ground. So you can also have the beans ground for you. They'll do it right there before they ship it out. No problem. Please do head over there and find out. Look, if you're a first-time customer, you use the code J20, JAY20, and that will get you 20% off your first order. In addition, they've always got spectacular savings going on over there at Blackout Coffee. You got to check it out, place an order, try it out, and I promise you'll be back for more because it's just that good. Blackout Coffee, thank you, John and the gang at Blackout, for being a part of the show. We really, really do appreciate you guys being along for the ride. All right. We did mention J.D. Vance earlier in the show, and now we're going to talk about J.D.'s wife, Usha. I love this lady. She's got a spark in her eye and a hitch in her giddy up, and she did a fantastic job of trolling a New York Times journo who had an epic meltdown over the MAGA baby boom. Second Lady Usha Vance took onto social media to have some fun at the expense of the New York Times, just published an absurd article in which the author rather vigorously clutched her pearls over the recent MAGA baby boom. Egads, wrote Vanessa Friedman, who is apparently the paper's chief fashion critic. Not only is Vance enjoying her pregnancy, she's flaunting it for all of us to see. To which Mrs. Vance basically replied, "Oh well." Friedman's premise seemed to be that the second lady, along with the White House press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, Katie Miller, wife of Deputy House Chief of Staff, Stephen Miller, both recently delivered babies. Oh, and they all had the nerve to cradle their growing bellies in full view of others. God forbid. You know, just like every expectant mother does at some point in their pregnancy. Yeah. Now, Vance is the first one Friedman picks on, probably because she's still pregnant and a little more vulnerable. Nice, right? Yeah. Father's Day video released by Mrs. Vance's office, in which Vice President Vance makes an appearance to read a children's book, which seems to have stoked Ms. Friedman's fire. Luckily, she says, "There's going to be a new baby for you to read to," the second lady says to her husband, "so you're going to have many more years ahead of you." She's wearing a sketchy, stretchy coral dress that hugs her stomach, making what she's talking about very clear. He grins and responds, "I wasn't ready to be out of the baby phase, so here we are, about to jump right in. in just a few short weeks. This apparently, is an example of how MAGA uses the power and politics of pregnancy to advance their agenda. Ooh, see? The lefties got their little tinfoil rolls ready too. Babies and motherhood. Ah, how awful. Oh, and that coral dress that Usha wore in the video? That's of particular concern to this New York Times writer because the dress skimmed the second lady's 8-month pregnant belly in a way that apparently offended the author. Get freaking over it, you goofball moron. Friedman wrote, it exhibited an image of idealized womanhood that gives literal shape to the pro-natalist movement. Oh, man. Well, the First Lady hilariously responded on her official X account by saying, well, now that we know the political significance of my $8.75 coral maternity dress from Old Navy, can't wait to hear what the New York Times has to say about my elastic waist pants and compression socks. She even provided the receipt showing that she did indeed pay $8.75 for that coral dress and looked extremely comfortable for a woman experiencing her 8th month of pregnancy in the steamy heat of a Washington, D.C. summer. Let's face it. The fact that Usha Vance and Caroline Levitt, Katie Miller, are happily married moms who look fantastic when they're pregnant, living fulfilled lives, just gets under the skin of these liberal women like Vanessa Friedman. Oh, and she found some fellow feminists to join her little ragey fest. Jill Filpovic, host of Week in Women podcast, said, it almost feels like a memo went out. They have quite intentionally opted to present themselves as, I'm really pregnant and this is what women were chosen to do. And they're happy to say that both with their looks and their mouths. Oh, and they really don't like Katie Miller, by the way. Katie Miller recently posted this. In honor of Mother's Day, a reminder that peak feminism is having babies. The most radical thing a woman can do is embrace her biological identity. Now, the weirdest part of this New York Times article from this Friedman geek is the anger that this author apparently feels about the MAGA ladies not dressing like Jackie Kennedy or Sherry Blair, maybe. Would somebody please make some of this silliness make some sense? Because it does not. Friedman would like nothing more than to see pregnant MAGA mommies covered head to toe. Hey, maybe we should even put them in a burqa. How about that? Yeah. That brings the absurdity of this New York Times folly full circle. Liberal ladies are nothing more than a sneering, seething has-beens who have relegated themselves to the sidelines, while real, honest American women embrace and celebrate their God-given ability to create life. And God bless them and their families. Absolutely. Well, here's another Democrat chuckle we can all have. Where is this? Can we copy this? All right. Let's see if we can get this thing to come up here. I don't know why things go so bonkers sometimes. The Democrat House primary results that we can all have a good chuckle over. You ready for a good chuckle? We saw the socialist takeover debacle last night, the congressional races in New York City. Socialists are winning. You did not learn your lesson with this Mondani idiot? What the hell is wrong with you, New York? Of course, they were endorsed by the mayor, which would and should concern absolutely everybody, as even more radical lefties get positions of power in our government. Democrats have absolutely opened the door to this. And now they're scrambling, trying to figure out what to do, as socialists even threaten to take out their leaders at the ballot box. Like Hakeem Jeffries. This exposes again exactly how radical the Democrats have become and how the Republicans have to do all they can to make sure they are stopped. Probably won't, but you sure the hell ought to be. It is more obvious in New York than anywhere else, but this crap is creeping in on a lot of other places. A lot. There was one race where the moderate, and of course with the Democrats that still means crazy liberal, but a moderate one, Micah Lasher, running to replace Gerald Nadler, who's retiring and had endorsed Lasher. What makes that special is actually quite hilariously lost in the process. Just take a moment and have a good chuckle about what happened here. Listen up. CNN commentator and Salem media host Scott Jennings said, LAMO, laughing my ass off, George Conway now really has something to cry about. George Conway is the Lincoln Project co-founder who is known for his absolute seething hatred of President Trump. He got beaten hugely. Can we show those results? Yeah, here we go. Look at this. There's Michael Lasher at the top, 33,600 votes. There's Conway at the bottom with 5,400 votes. Sorry, George. As a bonus, you'll notice who went down in flames there. Jack Schlossenberg, the grandson of John F. Kennedy. Bye-bye. Known mostly for his rather bizarre media posts on social media, this guy is a knucklehead. According to Ballotpedia, Conway spent $5.7 million more than any other candidate. He wound up last. Huge amount of cash in order to come in fifth. 6% of the vote. That was the kind of campaign he was doing. Unbelievable. Do we have, oh yeah, here it is. Take a look, this little short 20-second campaign ad.
I'm George Conway, and I approve this message.
Yeah, okay, George. Didn't do you a whole lot of good, huh? 5%. I don't really think, Mr. Conway is going to be impeaching anybody anytime soon. He wasted a ton of money, by the way, trying to get Joe Biden elected back in 2024. This is what Jennings was referring to when he was talking about crying. Conway donated almost $1 million to that effort. That is maximum Pump derangement syndrome right there. That is exactly what that is. Unbelievable. Ground news. Where do you get your news online from? It ought to be Ground News because they are a website that will go out and source all the different media outlets and then rank them and show you which ones are more conservative, which ones are more liberal, how many covered it, what sort of coverage it has. It's an amazing site. You've got to check it out. You can do that for free, but if you sign up for their subscription using our link down there in our description for Ground News, we'll get you 40% off your subscription price, which is a huge deal for Ground News. It is the place. We use it on this show. It is the place to find out about what the true story really is.
The news is divided. Ground News puts it back together, so you can see how many sources are reporting on any breaking story, where they fall on the political spectrum, how reliable they are, and who owns them. Compare headlines and read full articles to see which details are prioritized, exaggerated, or left out entirely. Because the more we understand the media, the more we'll understand each other. Visit ground.news to learn more.
Ground News. Oh, yeah. Use the link in our description down there. Pull that menu down that says see more, and then hit that link. Get over there. Find out more about Ground News. Try it out. Wander around the page. Check things out. And then if you want to sign up, you get a whole bunch of extra news and benefits and uses for the site. It's worth the money you're going to spend there. It's very little, but you'll get it at 40% off if you use our link for Ground News. You need to be getting your news from a place that really does care about telling the truth and showing you exactly what. They're not a conservative site necessarily. They will show you the conservative sites and the liberal sites, and you get to make your own decision. So whatever side of the fence you fall on, or you fall right in the middle of the fence, that is a site for you. Ground News. Check them out. All right. Hollywood's crazy economics, the impending crash of Supergirl. It's going to affect a huge bunch of partnering companies. A lot of a lot of cinema watchers are going to be keyed in on the weekend box office because there will be fewer people watching screens as far as one title is concerned. The latest DC Films comic book adaptation, looking less than heroic returns, and how that's going to reflect on a lot of other companies is what really is the biggest part of the surprise here. Hollywood, currently in theaters, Hollywood's experiencing a rather favorable year. The summer's been proving to be one of delivering a whole lot of pretty decent fortunes. This month, of course, Steven Spielberg's Disclosure Day opened just a week or two ago. But the overall box office has been pretty much outperforming their year-to-date by about 10%, which for Hollywood is a lot of money. And that was before the arrival of Toy Story 5, which set franchise records, buoyed by a number of surprise hits. Things for the exhibitors have been pretty solid. But not everything is a surefire hit. The Mandalorian and Grogu became a surprise bomb for Disney. Masters of the Universe, already seen forgotten as an also-ran after less than a month in release. And this coming weekend, another surefire hit is poised to bomb big time. Supergirl. Expected failure, and that can affect dozens of companies. Brandon Morse, I've been following for the past few weeks, the lead actress in this DC Warner feature, Millie Alcock, been serving up audience-repelling comments on the regular, and the film's fortunes are rather foundering because of that. These stars who cannot learn to keep their mouths shut and learn which side of the bread the butter is on. Initial tracking for the title had pegged it to perform better in its opening weekend than The Mandalorian entry, about 80 million. Early June, the numbers revised down to about 55 million. And if you contrast that with Superman's Bow, last year, 125 million. It is a woeful prospect, and it is becoming more and more dismal as the days go on, mainly because the main star of Supergirl can't keep her mouth shut. As of now, that movie has seen comparisons to the infamous bombs in the DC cinematic universe. The Flash, the fiasco contributed to the need to retool the whole failings of the DC's cinematic universe, something that Mr. Gunn brought into repair. Sean Robbins, Box Office Theory, pretty sharp analyst on box office performance. He said this new film doing far worse coming into this weekend's launch, and even basically gave it a chance of dipping lower still. Pre-sale trends across the nation's samples currently point towards a front-loaded weekend, with Thursday previews likely to land ahead of the Marvels, puts a potential weekend debut bordering around 40 million on the table, although a pinpoint is remaining bullish within the set spectrum of forecasts. The long-term prospects look even worse. Supergirl, not expected to debut in the top spot. Toy Story 5 looking to come in close to 100 million in their second weekend. The weeks ahead, even more massive tentpole releases. Minions and Monsters, live-action Moana, Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey coming up, although I've read some rather bad reviews about that one. And what makes very little sense is that Supergirl has drawn in participation from dozens and dozens of companies who are doing cross promotions with the film. So if this one flops, DC's not the only one who's flopping. All these other companies who are doing these promotions are flopping too. American Airlines, Samsung, Timex, more than 80 companies internationally have been doing financial promotional opportunities with this film. Fast food with KFC, branded chicken tenders meal sporting 3 character-driven dipping sauces. Oh, please. Given that Superdog Crypto, featured character here, the Supernal Canine, has been featured in more trailers, interest is lagging badly. Milk-Bone Dog Treats. They've got a branded product in the film. These companies are paying big bucks for this, folks. If this film flops, there are a lot of folks out there who are not going to be real happy about it. Unbelievable. You remember years back, Netflix did this new show on superheroes called Jupiter's Legacy. You remember that? Maybe not, because it was a complete disaster. It was with Josh Duhamel, $200 million series, debuted at the very top of Netflix streaming charts. But before that series run was concluded, Netflix announced it had been canceled. Now, surely the company had a lot of internal metrics that showed it was not a bona fide hit. But effectively, it killed off interest and any chance at all of a future audience growth by telling subscribers, you know what? Do not invest in the whole season, folks, because we're canceling the show. And so it died. So order yourself up a XL popcorn and maybe a box of Milk-Bone dog biscuits. Get ready for the flop which will be known as Supergirl. We'll see. We'll see. Well, of all the things that you may have had on your bingo card today, I'm going to guess a man getting pulled over while driving a banana probably wasn't on your bingo card. Yeah, you think? I had a friend back in Cornwall, Connecticut, Guy Washburn, my best buddy in the whole world growing up. We spoke after decades just a few months ago. It was great to reconnect with him after all this time. Anyway, he had did this thing where he would customize trucks, old Ford, I don't know, F-150s or something. Anyway, phenomenal job. He would make this wood finished back bed on them and everything and bring them all back to life. But the weirdest car it wasn't done by Guy, but the weirdest one I ever saw was his 1975 Cadillac Fleetwood body, which was mounted on a 3/4-ton Chevy 4x4 truck chassis. Sounds like something Guy might have done, but it wasn't him. Anyway, it was jacked up, big mutter tires, and the guy who built it had a custom place reading Bad Cad. That was the plate on the car, BADCAD. Driving around town with a chauffeur's cap. My best friend also growing up, David Heininger, who sadly we've since passed away, he used to have a New York City checker cab. He would drive around Cornwall. I very often was by his side in that cab. Well, now there's the banana car. The big banana car got stopped while cruising near Billings, Montana today. And while it might be appealing, traffic laws apparently still apply to fruit. And this is the banana car. What? Yeah, and behind the banana car, that would be a police officer. Mm-hmm. I suppose some people would find something like this, not to do a double pun, but appealing. Others might think this guy is a couple of fruits short of a smoothie. I can't complain. Okay, stop, Jay. The Bananamobile, it seems, is based on a Ford F-150 chassis. And according to the report, Brathwaite has been pulled over hundreds of times over the decade he's been driving his banana car across the country. In fact, he believes that during the first few years he had the thing, he was one of the most frequently pulled over men in America. Not exactly a title you'd be proud to hold. Driving around in a banana and having all these people, smiles and waves affects me, he says. It really does something fantastic. He even claims to have been pulled over once for peeling out. Anyway, driving around in a banana apparently will attract attention. A 12-foot banana, by the way. I would bet a bunch of people would show up to watch a Bananamobile passing by. Mr. Brathwaite would seem to have learned not to slip up and let anyone obscure his license plate. So, you car people out there, you should see this as a challenge. This would seem to be the strangest custom ride out there at the moment. And if this is an area that is ripe with opportunity, banana truck is possible, then what about a rutabaga? How about a radish or maybe a kiwi fruit? The possibilities, folks, are endless. The next custom car to be the world's top banana. Who knows? Could be you. I love the car. It's very cool. All right. One last absolutely amazing piece of video footage. It runs almost 2 minutes, but this is absolutely incredible. We have our dog, of course, little Miko, who's doing great. She's getting fat, by the way. But dog's sense of smell, I once had someone describe it to me as this. You know, when you first cut your lawn, you can smell the grass? That's because, of course, it's just been freshly cut and it's released all of that stuff into the air so we humans can smell it. That's what grass smells like to a dog all the time. They always smell that. A dog's sense of smell is insane. And for this one border collie, it is beyond belief. Take a look at this. Trying to zone in on where that smell is. Did he get it? Nah, not yet. Still figuring out where to focus on. This is incredible. Oh, he's on something now. And down he goes. Now, check this out. There it is. Ha! Unbelievable. That thing was so far away. And just that little dot he drew with the ink on his hand. Wow. Wow. And don't get me started on a dog's sense of hearing, okay? In fact, I just realized sometimes Miko, who hates fireworks and thunderstorms, she will actually sometimes start breathing real heavy and going kind of crazy. It's because she can hear the thunder so far off in the distance that we humans cannot yet hear until the storm gets closer. She knows when they're on the way. It's insane. It's incredible. Hey, thanks, folks, for popping in. It's a Thursday, so tomorrow's Friday. Yeah, we will be back tomorrow. Please give us a follow and a subscribe wherever you are on YouTube or on Rumble watching the show. We appreciate that. You want to give us a donation directly to help the show, you can do that with our link in the description for PayPal. It's safe. It's secure. You can use your bank account or your credit card and just send us whatever amount you feel free to send us. We appreciate it. And, of course, all of our great sponsors give you some great deals there, too, from the Jay Sheldon Show. We will be back tomorrow for the Friday edition, and we'll see you then.